Get back to that in just a second. And we got Anything Goes top of the hour on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. He is our friend from the Star, always full of great information. Jay Michael is with us. So we got a serious thigh bruise situation for Myles Turner tonight, correct?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these guys have been, you're at the point in the season where, a lot of guys are getting dinged up. McDermott got the rib injury. So this is why, no matter how well you start, this is the toughest part of the season. It's not just the wear and tear, like from being tired over 82 games. It's things like that. So you look at the way Myles kind of finished. He played at certain points last night. He didn't look all that great. Didn't look really comfortable out there, and that kind of, I guess, explains maybe some of why he played the way he did last night, where he wasn't very efficient, particularly shooting the ball.
Yeah, he wasn't, too. I had a couple of people ask me last night if I thought something might have happened to him, so this explains a lot, to be honest with you, especially with the questions I'm sure you received as well.
Yeah, and it's, and that's, the first game of back-to-back, and that's why, the NBA schedule is just so tough, and now you got to come back the very next night with no rest in between. And it's hard to bounce back from stuff like that. But, that means Kyle O'Quinn is going to get a bump in minutes. And the few times that he's had to jump in and fill in, either for Turner or Sabonis, he's actually fared quite well. So, I guess this is a case of, I was thinking about, if the Pacers could do something at the trade deadline, one many bigs, because you have three guys and one guy is pretty much out of rotation. But on a night like tonight, it's kind of good that you still have O'Quinn because you're going to need him.
That was a good segue for you. I know what we thought maybe 2 weeks ago at this time, talking about what the Pacers might do participating prior to the trade deadline, and we didn't have much for it. Has your mind changed at all there, or are you going to stay with the fact that you think that they're not going to do very much prior to Thursday?
I think that what they do, it's the biggest move they make, potentially could be in the buyout market but it depends. Now, I thought Anthony Davis was potentially going to get traded. It looks like that's not going to happen, right? And so, or the Lakers are somehow going to make some sort of big move, and all of these players are going to start changing teams. And then what happens is, particularly veteran guys who end up going to losing teams like the Pelicans, they get bought out. They take some of them get 100% of the money, some only get a fraction of the money, agree to a buyout so they can go find a team that's not only a playoff team, but a team that has a chance to do something in the postseason. So that's why I think that is, for me, I think that's the biggest place that you can maybe make a move. But that's always dependent on exactly what happens. Like, we still don't know what other kind of big deals out there could be made. I think that kind of changes things. When you see a lot of teams sit back and they wait and see, they say, well, we don't, we don't really want to. We don't see any trades out there that we like. But just because you don't make a move there doesn't mean that you don't make a move in the buyout market, because that's when you see guys, veteran guys. Wes Matthews, who I absolutely love, who just went from Dallas to New York. If they buy him out with the Knicks, a 6'5" guard who can defend his position and shoot 40% from three, that's the kind of guy that that you'd have to try to make a play for. Now, I don't think he would be in the Pacers' wheelhouse, or he would have the Pacers in his wheelhouse. But I think that's the type of guy that they could really use in the pinch that they're in right now without Victor.
It seems like, too, and by the way, I do think that what you have with the Lakers and the Pelicans is just a bunch of BS posturing right now, because ultimately I think that's the only place he's going to be able to go. That's it. That's where he's going to be able to go, to me, is there. I think that's posturing and something is going to be done. And you kind of see, right? I mean, you see the negotiations and the back and forth, supposedly, and Wojnarowski dropping all this information, and now all of a sudden the Pacers, or the Lakers in this case, want to bail out. Yeah, I just think that's probably going to expedite this thing a little bit, too, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, it could. It's like, and that's the thing, like, with something, when the moment people say it's dead, nothing's going to happen.
Right.
And that's what the trade deadline is always, you got to hedge everything because, when it doesn't look like it's going to happen today, the next thing you know, tomorrow, the deal's taking place. I mean, from the Pelicans' perspective, they can wait. I mean, if you're old school, which I'm kind of old school in my thinking, which is you don't want to enrich a team in your conference, even though the Lakers and Pelicans aren't anywhere near the same level when it comes to their ability to lure free agents. But if you have that old school philosophy like Greg Popovich had, I'm not trading Kawhi Leonard to somebody on the Western Conference. Absolutely not. And you could, if they have that posture that they're not going to give him to somebody in the West, to where you might even be willing to take less just to make sure you don't help the Lakers. I mean, I think there's something to that. I don't know if the Pelicans and Dell Dempster, GM, are in that kind of power position to play that card, but that is a way to look at it. And here's the other thing. I was asking someone the other day. Let's say a deal happens, and you have to figure Lance Stevenson would be in a sort of deal in New Orleans.
Yeah.
I think he'd be one of the guys that gets bought out or settles on a buyout and hits the free agent market.
Yep.
And now you're ready, for the third potential pairing.
And because you can't dismiss it because he's worked here. This has been the only place twice that he has worked.
Exactly. And he's the kind of guy, veteran guy, you need somebody to kind of, not only does he work here, the prorated salary is going to be relatively, it has no impact on your salary cap anyway, and it'll only be for a short-term burst again. So that stuff like that, that's what I mean when you look at when some of these trades, if they do happen. I think that creates all sorts of other activity, and then we see all these dominoes start to fall, and it makes a little bit more sense. Right now, it's just all guesswork, some of it educated guesswork, but I think most of it is just guesswork at this point because you got to wait for those other big dominoes to fall if they, in fact, fall.
I completely agree. I'm going to get back to Wes Matthews because the point you brought up was, well, he may end up getting his contract bought out and may be available, but maybe his first, 1, 2, or 3 choices would not be the Pacers. Could we not argue that maybe that would be a really good spot for him, somebody that's trying to show what he can do, get the most minutes possible? And certainly he would get that. And then to piggyback off of that question, how accepting would the Pacer players be to bring somebody from the outside in at this point? And not that they have a say in the issue, but how accepting would they be overall to bring somebody in right now?
I think it would be accepting because, having another person to carry some of this load on any given night, Matthews can drop 20, 25 points in any game for you. And he's also a guy that might only go score 5 or 6 points, but lock down his man defensively. I think they would be accepting of that. And I think your point's well taken, and that's why I was thinking about Matthews as a type of guy who, if you're a team like the Pacers, who would be of interest, only because his role in a place like Indiana with what they have available in terms of playing time. Going forward, it's probably going to be far greater than what he's going to find, let's say, if he went to the Houston Rockets. Like, he'd have a better chance of winning a championship or getting to the conference finals with the Rockets.
Yeah.
But he wouldn't be as much of an NBA player. And you're right in the regard also that it can give him a chance to showcase himself for when he hits the free agent market this summer, that if you play that right, so you can check all the boxes. You can be a playoff team. You can get the maximum minutes. And if you do well and show well, you can get yourself more money in the open market. So if I was a guy like Matthews, those are the kind of places I would be looking for. That would be my criteria going forward if I were to get bought out by the Knicks. Because you got to figure that the Knicks, they're trying not, at least if they're smart, and I don't know if they, there's questions about that, they don't really need to win right now. They're not going anywhere. So why would you want a guy like Matthews helping you win? Because that's pretty much the opposite of what they want to do, given how they deconstructed the team. I
completely agree with you on Wes Matthews. Another guy I thought about, I think I brought him up 2 weeks ago, was Terrence Ross. He dropped 30-plus on the Pacers last week. Did you ask any questions about his availability? Is he going to be floating around out there as maybe a team's option in the next couple of days, you think?
Yeah, I haven't heard anything about Terrence, and I did not ask, but he is definitely the type of guy. He's like one of those guys you forget about, and then he does like he did against the Pacers and drops 30 points. Valuable. I mean, he's valuable for so many reasons. He's got size. He can shoot the three. He's very athletic. He's just, guys like that would obviously be ideal. And that's why I think teams who are in those positions, like Orlando, that's in a losing position, if you can sell guys like that now and get assets so you can rebuild going into next season, that's why guys like him are valuable. And I think it's a smart play. But Ross, I think, would be a great guy. You need a guy to drop 20 on any given night. If I'm the Pacers, if you're looking to make a move, whether trade or buyout market, that's what you need. You don't need a Trevor Booker this year. You need a guy who can get you buckets this year.
Completely agree, too. I think we're both kind of in a similar position here, whereas 2 weeks ago we thought there was no way they'd make a run somebody at the trade deadline, try to trade for somebody. But now we're thinking maybe there's a little bit more of an opportunity, certainly, than there was 2 weeks ago. I think we're probably kind of right there in agreement with that, aren't we?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And again, I think so. I think it's whether it's a trade or not, or if it's like I said, a strong move in the buyout market. I think all that's more likely, given not only that you have the roster spot to do it, but it's this team is close. I mean, let's look at it. The East, after you get past the fourth and fifth seed, you don't really have a lot of competition beneath you. So if you kind of hold firm right now and you can get yourself a top 4 seed and get the right matchup in the first round, you could end up getting out of the first round of the playoffs. It's too late in the game. I know a lot of people are like, well, the Pacers should tank or this team should tank. It's too late. Number one, I don't think that's the identity, and that's what this organization wants to present to his fan base. So, number one, that's not on the table because of a lot of reasons that deals with that going to the identity of the franchise. But even if that were potentially an option, it's too late in the season to do that. And the bottom of the East is too bad that even if you tried to lose to some of these teams, you'd end up winning anyway. So you might as well go for it and try to get as high a seed as possible, because I just think it's just too late in the ball game, because you can't really lose the bottom of the East. The bottom is pretty much well occupied by lots of losers.
Completely agree with you right there. Jay Michael from the Stars on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. We may check in with you later on this week in case something does evolve around Thursday, and maybe we'll have something to talk about. But enjoy the game later on tonight. We always love having you on the show. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
It's Jay Michael, the Star on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Podcast 1070thefan.com. Anything goes in 15 minutes at 239-1070. Back with you next.
And now, an ad from Dad.
Oh, yeah, just this one line, right? All right, here we go.